On this True Law Stories, we're going to talk about relocations, crazy relocation cases, ending the relocation case in 10 minutes, and a judge losing evidence in a relocation case, as well as an artist that lost his own art to his ex-wife. And the judge was concerned about a bonfire. I've got Erin Morse of Morse Law Firm. Say hi.
Hi.
And don't forget, this is brought to you by videocasestory.com. One of the best ways to grow your business is through customer stories. Make sure to check out our new book at testimonialbook.com. Video testimonials that land the big fish will teach you how to use video testimonials in sales, marketing, and operations. All right, let's get started. Let's talk a little bit about you beforehand. Tell us a little bit about your firm and how you practice family law in Orlando.
I do. My name is Erin Morse. I practice family law, which includes divorce and paternity and post-judgment filings in downtown Orlando. My office is right on Orange Avenue. And we usually practice also in the surrounding counties. That includes Seminole and Lake County and Osceola and a couple other ones that are out there pretty close to us. So family is for us.
Nice. And what made you become a family law attorney? I'm always interested in this.
It finds me. Everybody I know who practices family law kind of falls into family law, and that happened to me too. I became a paralegal. I started as a receptionist, legal assistant. I really was a law clerk at one point, but I started working in family law firms, and I tended to really like that. So once I became an attorney, because I had already been working in family law by that time for about 8 years, it was the easiest, and I enjoyed it. I did do some work while I was in law school and when I first became an attorney doing complex business litigation, and that sounds exciting, especially when they call it complex, but it is so dry. It was so boring and it didn't feel like I was helping anybody. I feel like I can have the most positive effect on real people and real families by being a family law attorney. I have a real effect on people's lives.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, business litigation, yeah, it sounds exciting. It's not, from what I understand, it's nothing like the courtroom or like the courtroom TV shows.
Yeah, it's certainly not Suits. It's not, yeah.
It's not Suits. Fantastic. So, you were talking a little bit about it, some art things, but you do a lot of relocation. And tell us a little bit what that is and some of how you've helped people with that.
Yeah, so I've done quite a few relocations myself and had some success with them. And one story or one time in particular, I was defending a relocation. So I was in a position where I did not want the child to be relocated. And that was the request of the father in this particular scenario. And I represented the mother. And we went to court on this issue. And I noticed, even though it was filed, I noticed that the other side did not follow what the statute said, which for a moment had me questioning myself. I was like, is this real? Are we for real? Like, you are a well-known attorney with this gimmick. I represent dad's, father's rights, and had been an attorney for quite a lot longer than I had. And I was questioning myself, but in that moment, I knew I had nothing to lose. So we go there and the attorney starts speaking. He does his opening because it's his case and he goes first. And then I do my opening. And before I really even get into why it should be denied on the facts, because it should have, it wasn't right for this child. It wasn't in this child's best interest. But I said, Your Honor, at this time, I'm going to move for a judgment on the pleadings. And it's because the pleadings are incorrect. He did not follow the statute. He didn't follow the requirements, and he really doesn't have a case that you can grant this to win. So since it has to be denied on its face, I'm asking that you enter a judgment on the pleadings before we even move forward. So the judge's face kind of fell like, are you serious? Like, was just shocked that I did that. Now that move, even though it's permitted under the rules, is not typically pulled in family law because it is always so fact dependent that the technicalities aren't usually something that you can, really have such a slam dunk win like that. But I'm like, as I'm there, I'm like, this guy got it wrong. How could you have been an attorney since, I don't know, the early 90s and you still getting this wrong? So it was granted. My client didn't have to speak a word. and her child
Oh,
didn't get taken from her to go, more. He was like 2.5 hours away from her. So this child was going to move really somewhere up in North Florida, and she was going to have very limited time. At least that's what they were asking, right? That wasn't going to happen because I'm her lawyer, but it didn't happen, and we didn't even have to defend the whole case.
that's amazing. How did you feel going into that? I mean, it's like you're like, is this really going to happen?
I'm reading it and I'm like, did he get it this wrong? And his argument against why it shouldn't have been granted is the attorney on the other side thought that I should have told him his filing was defective. The judge was like, she had no requirement to tell you you had a defective filing, that you didn't follow the law. Well, she should have filed a motion to dismiss and given me the opportunity to amend it. No, no, I shouldn't have. Now, would that motion to dismiss have been successful? Maybe. But with a motion to dismiss, you often have the opportunity to amend and fix the mistake. If you
Yeah.
get a judgment, it's denied and you can't come back and act. So, like res judicata, that's this concept that you can't litigate the same thing twice, now attaches. So he now can't ask for this unless he has a whole new set of circumstances.
Wow. Yeah, he wanted some coaching from the other side.
I'm going to tell you how to get it right.
That's
I was
crazy.
shocked he got it this wrong, right? He seemed on paper so much more experienced. So it just
Yeah.
goes to show you that having been done it a long time might mean you're just doing it wrong for a long time.
Yeah, no, I mean it's true, and people get set in their ways, and they think they've got it all down, and don't have to look at the details.
Approach on my part, I don't know any other colleagues who typically will pull that card. I've done it a couple of times and it's worked. Not every time. Sometimes the judge is like, no, we're going to let this stand on its merits. And I'm like, you could deny it, but it's worth a shot. Those things, right? One of the things that you could see in a criminal case where they like ask for a mistrial, right? And the
Yeah,
defense might ask for a mistrial 3 times during their trial, knowing that like if it gets denied, no harm, no foul, right? But if it gets granted, that's a huge win and we may as well take it, right? If the opportunity is even slightly there, you take it. So I was like, why can't I do that? Why can't I trick? And I can.
uh, well, hopefully none of your colleagues see this, and they. I mean, I guess that they'll start like really dotting their i's and crossing their t's when they're going up against you.
I mean, they should, right? Make it a fair fight.
Make it a fair fight. That's great. And you have another story, kind of a crazy story about relocation.
Yeah, I actually do have another kind of crazy story about relocation. My she's a longtime client, so that tells you how high conflict these parties are. She's a big favorite of mine. I've told stories about her case a number of times, but I had this relocation trial, but it was during COVID. And my client had been working at Disney, here we are in Orlando, as an executive and got a better job making a lot more money as an executive at Netflix. So we go through this relocation trial. The first thing that happens in the relocation trial, because it was COVID, it was virtual. So we're all in my office. My client is in my office, and we're appearing on a Zoom call to in front of the judge, a great judge who I really like a lot, really professional. Well, it was in a county about 40 minutes away. So we had our big old binder, right? As you can imagine, relocating from Florida to California was a big deal. Anyway, chaotic for that reason. The first thing that happened in that case was opposing counsel did a motion to dismiss on part of our petition on the financial portion. So we went to court. She's going to more than double her income, and his income's going to stay the same. So we were offering to address child support with the changed time sharing. Well, the attorney on the other side thought they were so smart. And we go to a hearing and I said, no, Your Honor, I agree. The motion to dismiss as to the financial portion could be granted. So dad has to continue paying child support when mom's income doubled because his attorney thought they were so smart to file a motion to dismiss.
Oh my gosh.
stupid. Anyway, that's fine. Keep taking your money. Keep paying your ex-wife who now doubles your income. Cool. So the next thing that happened, we're in the actual trial. It's like the big deal trial. This is a 3-day thing. It's a huge event. So we have binders and binders of evidence. Well, we have to provide paper copies to the judge because the clerk doesn't want to print them, docket them, whatever they have going. So we get in and we start our hearing. We're under a time crunch. She's got to start her job. So I did all this demanding that the court follow the timelines in the statute, which they did. They did a great job. They granted it to us. My staff gets it all together, delivers the big old binders, whatever. So we go in front of the hearing and the judge goes, I had your binders last week when we were here doing the motion to dismiss, whatever, but I can't find them.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, you can't find my evidence? All my 4 binders, 4 2-inch binders of evidence, you can't find it? No, I must have misplaced it, but I know you had it. I was like, do you want us to continue the hearing? Meaning like schedule it another time so you can have your evidence? I'm like, no, I can't. My client really needs to leave like next week. So no. So I completed that whole trial without any evidence, just testimony. And towards the end of the hearing, the opposing party, he goes, I don't think, and one of the issues was the children's therapy, right? I don't think any doctor could diagnose a child through a Zoom call. He goes, just like you can't prove your case during this Zoom call. Yeah, he said that in open court. So anyway, I won. They relocated.
Oh my God.
So,
Holy crap.
They tried a motion to dismiss and only got the financial issue out of it, which only harmed their own client. And he even tried to insult me in open court, and that really pissed off the judge.
That's crazy. That's very insulting. What did the judge say?
The judge just looked at him like, what? He actually made a ruling, which he doesn't have to make this finding in particular, but the judge did. He goes, and I just want to make the announcement and ensure the record is clear that the burden has been met for the relocation to be in the best interest of the minor children. I was like, yeah. That was definitely a dig at the other party. So that was a pretty interesting outcome of that. And relocations are pretty hard.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I can imagine, especially like COVID and all of that going on. And yeah.
Move across the country, right?
Yeah, moving across the country. That's pretty crazy. That's not, so let's move on, because obviously family law cases involve splitting assets, but this was an interesting one with some art.
Yeah. So we had an issue where artwork, very expensive, very valuable artwork, was central to this case. It was the husband who I represented, and he was this really amazing, really successful art. He sold a lot of his art to Disney. He had a lot of character art that he made and a lot of other art that he made. He was just a very diverse materials type of artist and valuable. Everything could be sold for value. So one of the ways the wife was a little emotionally unstable and reacted emotionally and kind of chaotically, unlike the husband who was not at all. And the only way that we could get this deal done, right? The two of them divorced, them able to separate, and a few other very positive outcomes for my client, I will say, but not disclosed, was that the wife wanted a portion of his artwork, very specific items that were listed out with their value. So at that time, we had to go in person to get a final judgment entered. So this particular judge, some judges do, some don't, took extra care to review the marital settlement agreement. And she looks at it, and instead of going, oh, do you want to be divorced? Do you want to be divorced? Did you sign the document, right? Doing the ceremonial, you're divorced and you're divorced and you're out. We're handing out divorces. She calls both the attorneys up to the desk and, up to the, I want a sidebar with the attorneys. Please step up here. So she calls us up here. So both of us are like, and I got along with opposing counsel pretty well, but both of us are like, oh shit. Like, what is this? It's agreed to. And she goes, I read this marital settlement agreement. Can you please explain to me why, Mr. Schmo's artwork is going to the wife? Why would she be entitled to that? And we were just like, sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get the deal done. She insisted. And she goes, well, are we going to see a bonfire later tonight on the news? And we're like, no, I don't think so. And the other provision was that the husband was going to drop off the art at my office. So it came into my conference room. There was a table of like this big pile of art, at least 2 feet high, and it was all stacked up in here. And he came and dropped it off, and we had to make sure that he was gone. And 45 minutes had passed, so they wouldn't even pass each other. And then she came to my office to get the artwork. And she's there like bawling her eyes out. And she goes to a couple of my staff members like, aren't you going to help me? Oh, why would we help you? And she's like crying. She was like, you don't understand how hard this is. I don't, okay. Like, what do you want us to do? A paralegal to carry out to your car the artwork you insisted? No.
Yeah. The opposing counsel's paralegal. This is even your
not even your lawyer. You think that you should have people who work at my office stop the work they're doing for our clients to help you?
Wow. So how did she get the art out? Just one at a time?
Yeah, she just had to take what piles she could carry. None of it wasn't like large sculptures. It just
I'm just imagining that, like, I'm back for more art.
she's like bawling her eyes out as if the divorce hadn't been going on for like 3 years, which it had, and somehow was angry at us. I'm like, what are you doing? You wanted to come here to get it. I don't.
Awesome. Well, that's you see a lot of stuff in family law, don't you? So how do you handle all this craziness?
I mean, I like it, right? It was interesting and funny, and doing what it takes to get the job done is a real core value, right? I am willing to come up with creative solutions. If that creative solution is like your case should be dismissed because you did it wrong, if that creative solution is, yeah, you could come to my office and pick up the artwork, you can drop it off, we'll do that. We had a case where they were exchanging the dog and the dog had to come to our office. That happened. So my paralegal Kyle's teaching how to sit and roll over while we, yeah. So
It's craziness. But obviously, you're a great attorney. You've had a lot of success stories. If someone needs your help with relocation or family law matters, talk to us a little bit about getting in touch with you.
Sure. My phone number is 407-900-7451. You can always give us a call at any time, 24 hours a day. You can also go to our website, which is morse-firm.com. That's Morse, MORSE-firm.com. And set up a consultation, a strategy session to go over whatever's going on with your case. And I give away the goods right in that consultation. I will create a whole case strategy as we're speaking on what needs to be done and how we can handle it.
Awesome. Put a link to your website in the show notes. Well, you also got a great YouTube channel, so we'll put a link to that as well. Got all sorts of information on here, and we will definitely put a link to that. But Erin, thank you so much for being on True Law Stories. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was pretty fun.
And thank you for taking Erin and I on our journey. It's been Iron Garlic and True Law Stories.